Office of the Mayor. I'm LeVar Stoney. I'm the mayor of the great city of Richmond. This evening, we are at the Richmond Public Library, and you are in one of the greatest facilities. There you go, right? See, I told you on my talking points. In the city of Richmond. Before we begin, I want to, Ms. Burke, how are you? Ms. Burke, we want you to have a seat up here at the table. No, you're not going to disrupt me. No. You did. I saw Ms. Cosby also. She utilized the floating parking as well for those who work for the media. It works. Before I begin, I want to recognize Mr. Carlos Fernandez. He will be helping us this evening with interpretation to the Spanish language. Do you have anything to say, Mr. Hernandez? Yep.
Buenas noches a todos. Si alguien requiere el servicio de intérpretes, yo estaré aquí para ayudarles. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. I'm going to first give a couple remarks about this evening's activities. We obviously want to make sure that we stay on time and get you all out here in a reasonable hour of the evening. But first, I want to take a minute to talk about the purpose of us convening here on a quarterly basis, along with about our shared commitment to the city's children. This compact between the school board, the city council, and the office of the mayor is a statement and a commitment of each of us for the success of public education in Richmond, that we are here just 2 weeks since May 31st, after the passage of the FY 2019 budget, is a beginning conversation about how our community can better support the needs of schools and their families. Here's the thing. We will not always agree. I want to make sure that the newspaper and the media knows that we will not always agree. But we also believe in a shared vision. And that also means us all having the conversation and having the discussion. This compact is a commitment to continue to have that difficult conversation. And sometimes you will hear us disagree, but that doesn't mean that we can't get to a resolution. You know, we have a commitment as an administration to the whole child approach. It means tackling the needs of children and families holistically, working with RPS and all the other agencies that are involved here in city government. Together, we know that we have to work on the reduction of poverty, building family and economic stability, providing high quality opportunities for kids outside the school day, helping high school students transition to college, into the careers, and also supporting our city's youngest children from the time that they are born. We will also, as a city, do everything possible to support Superintendent Cameras and the Richmond Public Schools. And we're excited that Mr. Cameras has begun the strategic planning process. And we believe that our children are the North Star. So their socioeconomic development and their academic achievement must be paramount in these conversations. And we have high hopes for what the strategic planning process will yield. Now we all should recognize, whether or not we sit on the city council, this office recognizes as well, that there will be a price tag with the strategic plan. And the price tag will likely be over and above our existing investments. But we will continue to invest whatever we can to RPS, to our students, while maintaining our commitment to the whole child. And as we have seen since the recession, we will continue to do our best to compensate for the lack of support from the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I will say I refuse to put a cap on what our children, our schools, and our city can accomplish Investing in our youth and children will pay dividends for generations, but my job as mayor is to chart a responsible course by which we can expand those investments while also providing the core services for all of our citizens, no matter what neighborhood they live in, to expect and that they actually deserve. So tonight, we're going to start looking forward to those long-term funding needs. We understand there are three pathways. First is through local government. It's where the rubber meets the road. We're going to talk about increased efficiencies and enhanced local revenue. We all know what enhanced local revenue means. Two, partnerships, whether it's with greater support from the philanthropic community and also increased resource sharing from our city partners. And three, the elephant in the room, the Commonwealth of Virginia. We want to see increased funding from the state, as we know they are far, far, far behind the city of Richmond. I want to explain how this meeting is going to flow tonight, a little bit different than meetings in the past. We're going to have some brief updates on the progress of the other two components of the compact. That means the Children's Cabinet and also the Community Compact team as well. We're going to hear from our superintendent as he presents on the strategic plan, and we'll have a 45-minute discussion on funding strategy as well this evening. Let's talk a little bit about the format. You all up front, members of the City Council, the school board, including the superintendent, are seated at small group tables. This is across district and across government at each table, and will facilitate a candid dialogue and productive conversation is my hope. The senior staff from the mayor's office will be here to help us facilitate some of these discussions. And we'll focus the focus will be on how we will fund and not what we will fund. How and not on what we will. Real quick, I would be remiss if I did not recognize the work of first my good friend, Dr. Thad Williamson. Dr. Williamson, thank you for so much for, number one, you are been helping me found this whole process, and so I appreciate your help. You've been an integral piece of all this, but also Dr. Kim Bridges, and I can say doctor now because Kim Bridges now has a PhD, or EDD, what is it?
EDLD.
EDLD, but all you need to remember is from Harvard. That's all you need to remember is from Harvard. They will be helping facilitate this evening, but also I need to recognize the fact that yesterday we announced that Eva Cohen has joined our team as a senior policy advisor. So we want to welcome Eva to the process, and she'll be shepherding the work of the Education Compact moving forward. Welcome, Eva. So I wanted to quickly end by highlighting a couple pieces of collaboration in the past few weeks. First, I was glad to hear that we were able to get the RFP, the request for proposals, out to the public on May 15th, looking for those bids to come back to the city and the school board here 30 days from the 15th. And so I'm glad that work has occurred, and that's due to the help of the superintendent and his team working alongside the city administration. Additionally, during Teacher Appreciation Week, we announced that the mayor's office, will be starting a teachers advisory committee, and Brianna Nomi's with us in the back tonight. I want to thank Brianna for helping us with that initiative as well. Thank you. I want to end. Some round of applause for Brianna. I want to end on what I think remembering what the goal and mission of this meeting and meetings beyond this will be. The only way we get to a resolution on a comprehensive funding plan for instruction, closing the academic achievement gap, facilities, is through collaboration. That means members of the city council, the school board, talking with one another. And that means our office listening as well. Additionally, we have to find common ground. We have to find common ground. And guess what? That means not getting everything, emphasis on everything that we want. city council or school board, or even this office. That means we need to figure out what are our deal breakers. What are our non-negotiables? City council has non-negotiables. I have non-negotiables. And I know the school board has non-negotiables. It's about time we quit pontificating and posturing and we hear what they are. And we do everything we can to have a difficult conversation to get to the resolution. This has to be the end of the zero-sum game. This has to be the end of the zero-sum game. We want to create a resolution to this, find a solution, and we're going to have a difficult conversation. It's now my job to hand this over to, I think, Dr. Williamson. Are you next?
Yeah.
All right, come on up here.
So I'm going to invite Councilman Larson to come up here now or a minute. Come on up. Since this is probably the last time I have the mic in this particular role, let me take a minute to congratulate the mayor, but also Chairwoman Page and also President Hilbert, who's not here, but the City Council leadership, because to me, just reflecting where we were a year ago to where we are today, it's been a huge amount of progress. The success of the superintendent search, the development, finalization of this compact process, the passage of the meals tax increase, which is a historic breakthrough, I think, in our community conversation, and just the energy around this need of supporting children holistically. And just to echo what the mayor said, the entire compact process was set up to meet this particular moment. With now the superintendent here, strategic planning process on the way, we know there's going to be a price tag. And fortunately, we have this organized process in place to have a rational conversation, looking at the whole picture about how we can best move forward meeting those needs. So just to go over this one more time, this is one critical piece of the compact, these quarterly meetings, to make sure that it's an annual year-round conversation on education, not just something happens at budget season. And it's a time to ask questions, build trust, understand the different perspectives of the different institutional bodies on these challenging questions. Second, Children's Cabinet, which is really the agency leaders and other key professionals within City Hall on both the Richmond Public School side and the City of Richmond side to begin talking together, meeting together, because in many cases we're serving the very same families with similar challenges. And really, from this first year, because of superintendent transition, there has been a little bit of a pause in getting as much momentum as we expect to have going forward. But one of the key things that's come out of this collaboration already is we revamped the city's non-departmental budget process, which the budget that was just passed by City Council through the partner agencies is putting over an additional $2 million into supporting children's needs. And that's beyond what the city agencies are doing themselves, through things like Mayor's Youth Academy, social services, Parks and Rec, and also beyond what the city's giving to RPS. And so we had RPS represented in actually drawing up the criteria for those evaluations and being part of the evaluation process to make the recommendations to the mayor. So that was an important step forward in that particular process. And then looking ahead over the next month, with the budget just passed, all the agencies in the city of Richmond are going to be asked to stipulate their goals for the coming year, now that everyone knows what their money is. And so there will be the next cabinet meeting focused at the end of June. We'll focus on that report out from each agency, and we hope to be in position maybe at the next meeting of this group to sort of report out and make public and share. Here are the tangible, quantifiable goals that each agency is going to be accountable to the mayor for delivering on based on the budget that just passed. And again, I think that's an important win for transparency, but also for us to even better understand what's already going on in the community. And then thirdly, we have the compact team, which has now had 3 meetings. And let me just pass it to Kristen Larson now, because actually hasn't missed a meeting. I think we've been all of them.
Thank you. So I am part of the education compact team along with some of the other elected officials here tonight. I know two of the school board members, school board member Burke and school board member Owen are also on the compact team. I'm sorry, I don't remember who your third is. Oh, Liz, of course, yes. Um, and I am a representative from City Council along with Michael Jones and Cynthia Newbill. We've had 3 meetings. I would say we are gathering a lot of information. I think there's a couple members of the compact team that are citizens here tonight. So maybe if we could have them stand up. Vilma, I know is a member. Is there anybody else here who's on the compact team? But it's a great mix of people, diverse backgrounds. We have been setting up the meetings, receiving presentations, doing the small groups during the presentations, and then sharing information. And I think one area of growth, which is not anything new, but it's always great to talk about it in a organized forum, is just the information about the programs that we have in Richmond and who knows what and what we can do better to get that information out there. For example, during our last meeting, we got a big presentation on the Mayor's Youth Academy, which is an amazing program, but some of the folks in the room didn't really know that much about it, and they were parents. Now, some of the folks in the room knew a ton about it and could have given the presentation themselves. But I think as a city, we have all these programs, right? And we have things that are schools, and we have things that are city programs, and then we have our outside partners. And this is what I see, some of this work that needs to happen is connecting all those dots and making sure all these entities are working together in the same direction with the same goal. So, okay. So it's going well, and I look forward to more dialogue and more work on the team.
So, thank you, and just one more point, and appreciate our guests' help in helping us, because you remember when we were talking about compact earlier, we had lots of things on this bucket of whole child, and now we really got it pretty simplified in terms of early childhood, out of school time, and workforce development, both for parents and kids, is like the focal points, along obviously with RPS's own K-12 strategic plan. So really this conversation, as goes on the years, to be focusing on those things this year, and as Ms. Larson just said, trying to develop more and more citizens who can see the whole picture and more benefits. Thank you, and I believe we can next go to Tom Page.
Good evening, everyone. So I have the task of introducing our strategic planning process. The title of our strategic plan, Dreams for RPS. Dream big for the students of RPS. And supporting our students' dreams and believing in our students. So as part of the strategic planning process, it consists of 4 phases. And the first phase is going on now. We are having visioning sessions in each district. And we have one next week in the 6th district, another one in the 8th district. So we have had a series of visioning sessions in all of our districts so far. And so as I stated, it will take place in all 9 districts. Some of the visioning sessions will include with students, staff, families, the central office, advisory groups such as students, families, teachers, principals. Also, a visioning session for our nonprofit, faith-based, civil rights organization, the business organization, and higher ed. So if you notice, we really want to engage the community. We want to include them in this process. Dreams for RPS. And so at the last stage, tentatively, we're in the August, September timeframe. But again, we want our students to realize the possibilities, the endless possibilities, but dreaming big, we as elected officials, we as the community, we have to believe in our students and we have to support our students. And we have to make sure that those resources are there so each and every student in RPS can realize their dream. So as a part of the strategic planning process, as the mayor stated, it's time for us to be honest and be serious with the purpose, the mission for our young people and for this city. We have to align our resources with our budget. What are the non-negotiables? But this is very serious. Realizing the dreams of our young people. So at this time, our superintendent, Jason Cameron, will take over.
Good evening. Do I need to use that?
Okay. First, I just want to say thank you to everybody who was here this evening, and thank you especially to all of the elected officials for your leadership in helping us take some important steps forward over the past several months just since I have been here. And so I just wanted to begin with gratitude. I know it is not easy to be an elected official and to represent many competing interests, but I appreciate your leadership and your sacrifice over the last several months. I'm excited to continue to work with all of you over the coming months and years. Let me also just say real quick, if you have a copy of the Richmond Free Press, which Mr. Carrington was so gracefully handing out before, our valedictorians are honored on the front page. So you should check it out. If you don't have one, you should get one. They are an incredible group of young people. There's actually also a big feature article about Chevette Ward, who is our sort of valedictorian of valedictorians for the whole school system. And they are an incredibly inspiring group of young people. We got to honor them last week. The mayor was there and others from the school board. And please get a copy of the Free Press because it's a wonderful honor to our young people, and I think it represents the best of our group. Okay, so what we're gonna do now for the next 30 to 45 minutes is what we're calling a visioning session. These are sessions that we're doing all across the city in every school with teachers, parents, kids. As you heard, different stakeholder groups across the city. We have over 150 of these visioning sessions going on. The point of this is to get as much community and stakeholder input for this process as is humanly possible. And so not only do we have these in-person sessions going on, but you can also share your thoughts via our website, which is rvaschools.net. And on the homepage, you can click and it takes you to an electronic version of the process that we're about to go through. So if anybody in the public would like to share your thoughts and feedback, that is the way to do it, or to come to one of the many sessions that are happening across the city. If you would like to see a list of all the sessions, dates, times, places, it is on our website as well. Under the featured links, the first one says strategic planning process, and there is a PDF there with every single meeting that you can see and come and join. We want to democratize this process as much as is possible to get all the voices across the city to be involved in helping think about the future of RPS. So we're going to go through this process. Full disclaimer, the RPS board has already engaged in this process. And so I'm going to ask for their grace in going through it again. But I think the power of tonight is that we have some cross-government opportunities here. So actually, I'm going to ask Board Member Young and Board Member Burke if you would join one of the other tables, since we have council members and the mayor at the other tables. And I think it's the cross-body conversation that I think would be ideal. So I'll leave it to the two of you to decide which table you'd like to join. We start the process by reading a poem, which is what we're going to do right now. And do the audience have a copy of this sheet or no? Yes. Some of you are shaking your heads, and some of you just look tired. That's all right. All right. So we're going to begin by reading Harlem, which is better known as Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes from 1951. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do a communal reading. I will start with the first line, and then I'll go to Council Member Agelasto, who's going to read the second line, and then Board Member Sapini, and we'll make our way down the row. Are the instructions clear? I think we're good. All right. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up?
Like a raisin in the sun?
All right, we're starting over. This is not you, yes. Start it again. We're good. We're going to do it like this. Ready? Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Mr. Young, 7, 8, 9. You got it? You know, I was a teacher at one point. All right, here we go. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up?
Like a raisin in the sun?
Fester like a sore.
And then run.
Does it stink like rotten meat?
Or crust and sugar over.
Like therapy sweet. Maybe it just sags.
Like a heavy load.
Or does it explode? I'd like everybody at the tables and everybody who is here in attendance, take 1 minute and just jot down any thoughts that this poem is bringing up for you as we begin this process of thinking big about the future for RPS. And then I'm going to have you share out. So just take a second. You can jot your notes in that little box around the poem. Yes, I can repeat the directions. To just take a moment and pause and reflect on this poem and what it is bringing up for you. What are you thinking about as we discuss the vision and the future for RPS? Everybody comes to this poem from a different perspective, a different life experience. So what is coming up for you as you think about this poem as we begin this process together? Once you've jotted down your thoughts, I'd like you to turn to the folks at your table, share what you have, a brief discussion. I'm going to ask the folks in the audience to do the same thing. Turn to the person next to you, share what is coming up for you. in response to this poem. Okay, I'd love to have everyone rejoin the group conversation. And if we have a few members of our elected bodies who would like to share, I would love to hear your thoughts. One second, sir. You wanted to share your thoughts? Let's hold 1 second. I'll come to folks in the audience. Let's start here with some of our elected representatives.
So we had several conversations about it, and my first thought when reading this poem is that it's not necessarily about a dream deferred, but many of our young people have forgotten, don't know how to dream, or there is an absence of dreaming right now, and that's something that we definitely have to get back to.
So, really like what Felicia had to say. I shared that for folks who may be unfamiliar, there was this report that was released at the end of the Obama administration, like literally at the end. It was like December 2016, and it pertained to job displacement, and specifically because of artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, all the jobs, all the literally millions of jobs that we could anticipate we would lose here in the U.S. and what that would mean pertinent to skill development and what kind of education you had to attain, and what it means for our 24,000 students for the 21st century, and what it means for them competing in this new, very different kind of marketplace. And if you're unable to compete, then at the risk of belaboring the point, then obviously you can never fully realize those dreams.
I just think that Mr. Hughes asked a very powerful question, and it's a question that I don't want to know the answer to. My hope is that we will help our students achieve their dreams. I think as a community, we haven't always been putting our students in those types of situations where they feel that they have something to aspire to or the ability to achieve it, and I think that we've been deferring too long as a community, and I'm hopeful that through opportunities like this will be driving for better solutions for our kids.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate those comments. If there's anybody else that wanted to share, I just want to check real quick. Okay. So there are three big questions that we're asking all across the city. First question, we got to start with the things that we love, that are great about RPS, because there are many things that are great about RPS. And we want to highlight those and celebrate those and do more of those and make sure that we don't lose track or lose sight of those. Sometimes when you plan for the future, you always go immediately to what needs to be better, what needs to be fixed, all those sorts of things, and we'll certainly get there. But I want to start with just take a minute or two, jot down the things that you love most about RPS. Oh, the audience. I apologize. I just started moving too fast. Sir, come on up.
I'm not forgetting you, Mr. Bradley.
My apologies. Ms. Cosby reminded me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, inclusiveness.
Yes, I'm
Right.
sorry.
He'll call you out on the radio.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the only way I can reach you. You gonna let me at the table? You asked the question in reference to what sticks out with me was the phrase, and this is very positive. Don't think that I'm coming negative. Fester like a sore. And the reason why I say that is because this is why we're here, the resources. So you can have a dream, but if you can't finance that resource, it's just a dream. And so it takes me back to how do I finance that vision, right? And so in financing that vision, it becomes sour because we're stagnated in trying to find the resources. And what we hear here today is we're talking about the taxpayer dollars. Y'all have left out the dollars that target your community. And that's the entitlement money. That's the Section 3 money. All of the money is a part of the city of Richmond. It's not just the mayor. It's that RHA money is there. Please read the code, read the stuff. I know y'all tired of me, but when you read it, you're gonna see it targets that community. It provides the funding to uplift them. See, I read the compact. I know what number 2 is, and it goes in the uplift. I supported from day one, but I supported because I knew that this was a resource if you listen and hear from it. Instead of giving the projects to these big developers, HUD requires you to utilize the parents of these children who are qualified. If they're not, they can work with a joint venture with someone that is licensed. Stop saying that there's not MBEs out here that can do the job when you don't really try to reach out to them. You don't have an ORMBD that really reaches out to make sure that that increased population is there. As my sister stated, Ms. Lawson, when you get all of the pieces moving together with transparency and oversight, you got it. But right now, what I heard up here is everybody got what they're not willing to give up. So that's telling me we're not going to get nothing. We're not going to get nothing if nobody's willing to give up anything. So I plead with you. I beg with you. Look at the Section 3, CFR 1, Part 135. That is your resource. And this mayor, underneath of the city's Appendix 14, Section 314, Section 3, has the authority by City Council to determine that on the concept, we're talking vision. When they vision they're going to tear down the next project, at that point the mayor can say, and it's going to go to the Section 3 business concern. Why? Because City Council has granted them that authority, and HUD grants the director that authority, because it's all about elevating and uplifting. They call it upward mobility, but it's been denied for 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we will shift to that first question. The things that you love about RPS. Just take a minute. Jot down the things that you are most proud of, that you love about our schools and our school system. Invite the audience to do the same. All right, this time we will start with the public. Does anyone want to share anything that they have on their list? Yes.
I am extremely proud that the co-valedictorians at Huguenot are both Latinas, and the valedictorian of George Wythe is Latina. So I'm very proud.
Thank you.
And the passion of the administration too.
Excellent. Others? Wait, we gotta use the mic so it gets recorded.
That you have some outstanding school media specialists.
I'd like to throw a shout out to the Head Start folks. I've seen some wonderful work done in that group.
Excellent. They will appreciate that. Others? Yes.
Well, what I liked about RPS is the children in general, and as well as some of the teachers are excellent educators.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, and from our elected officials, we're gonna do lightning round. All right, Councilmember Adelasto, what do you got on your list? Quick.
So I had Spirit. I too agree that the kids are really incredible. And I think the alumni, we have some really incredible people who graduated from Richmond Public Schools, and they're all over the world.
Amen.
All right. I have the possibilities. We continue to believe that we can soar, and that's based upon our history and our foundation. There are possibilities that continue to grow and glow.
Possibilities that continue to grow and glow. I love it. Mayor.
I wrote down the children as well, but I also wrote down and circled the underdog. Because there's a lot of people out there who count our children, our teachers out, and then when they perform like you showed on the front page, just shows you that, you know, you can, we're doing it here.
I put the people, and of course that means the kids. And I have to say, my favorite part of being on the school board is being able to go and talk to the kids and go to classrooms. The teachers, I think our teachers are incredibly committed. Many, most are under-resourced. They're buying their own school supplies. They're putting in extra hours. They're working really hard. And the staff generally. When you go into these schools and you talk to custodians who years ago had one or two more people on their team, and they had more cleaning supplies and more support. But you go in and you talk to them, and they still have a good attitude, and they're still working hard, and they're still doing what they can for RPS. So we just have incredible people. I want to make sure we're treating them well.
Lightning round?
John. Decision.
Well, I'll just say this. I think we have arrived at a place where we all, or nearly all, acknowledge that we have to adopt some radical solutions to the problem.
Things you love about RPS.
That's not like you. That's like you. That's like you. No, that's like you because as a country, not just as RPS, but we're candidly we're failing vis-a-vis the rest of the world. And I think that we've finally arrived at a place where people have arrived at this consensus that we can do some radical new things, and I'm excited about that. That's what
Place.
Yes.
I mean, it's sort of like with Cheryl. So.
She was very good.
I see why y'all go to midnight.
And then the end of that. So I'll be very quick. Students, they're just so fabulous. The resiliency of RPS. We've had some tremendous challenges, especially when it comes to resources, and we're resilient and we still produce fabulous, fabulous young people and graduates, teachers, and partners.
What do I love the most about RPS? Our students. Our students, the many talents that they have, the resiliency. And I just want to share this note from one of our students from Bouchard Middle School. She said, "Thank you, Mrs. Page, for taking us to the NAACP Freedom Fund Gala. I'm very grateful. Meeting the governor was an experience I can never forget." And she said, "Thank you." Providing those experiences and exposing our kids to the endless possibilities for loving our students. That's what I love the most about RPS.
I love that Richmond Public Schools is a system that has an incredible history. This is a school district that really represents the story of the American struggle, which is that of desegregation. And with that, we have an opportunity to be a part of history that you don't have in the county. And through this history, which is both things we should be so shameful for and so hopeful for, we come here with intention, and I think that creates a spirit that can't be replicated.
One of the things I love about Richmond Public Schools, and I have two children in the school system. I have a 5th grader and a 7th grader, is the location. We're in the capital city, and we're in this really cool urban environment with all these parks all around, and I think our kids have amazing access to opportunities right in our city that we take for granted, but is one of the main reasons why I wanted, when I moved here 13 years ago, wanted to live in the city and not in the county because I think it's a great place to live and raise a family.
Thank you, everyone. Question 2. What are your dreams for RPS? And here's the prompt for how we're going to do this. I want you to imagine it's 2023. It's 5 years from now. You pick up the Free Press, you pick up the RTV, you turn on the TV news. I want you to write the headline to the article that describes what we achieved. What is your dream headline? And then I want you to bullet out what are some of the things that we did to get there. So whatever you want that headline to say in 2023, what does it say? And then I want you to jot down some bullets. We did this, we did this, we did this, we did this, all in service of that vision, that dream. Once you feel you're at a stopping place, go ahead and share with the folks at your table or share with someone next to you, seated in the public.
Oh, yeah. Scott, we'll start with Scott.
My headline was fully accredited RPS booms as families flock to enroll students in the program. All the investment paid off. Graduation rates continue to improve. College and career readiness is on the upswing, and Jason Campus is not up to
My headline was
What
along
do you
the same.
want? What do you want?
My headline was along the same time. Says part of that says all RPS schools credit. School leaders get us there. Teachers, talk about the teachers, talk about the change in culture, the culture to achieve working performance. Enrollment was up as well, and classrooms, and school populations were up increase. I don't want to say anything else.
No, you go because I'm
You
most of the time
gotta
saying,
sandwich you in there.
yeah.
Okay. Just say words then. Don't want to say prose. That's all.
That's no headline.
Okay. You need to sub. I'll take the sub.
First humans colonized Mars. My dream is to reach non-stars.
Oh, look at you. That's great. Yeah, I can tell you at least what's going on screen right across. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. Ms. Page, are you ready to kick us off? Please. All right, here you go.
Yes. RPS has surpassed its expectations. It is a premier district in the region. Go RPS.
City schools are fully funded.
RPS enrollment increases by 50%.
All right, y'all ready? All right.
Headline.
So you got a sub.
I've got a sub too. All right. Teachers depart county schools in droves for RPS because of emphasis on autonomy for instructors, experiential education, and entrepreneurial approach.
Come on. How's that work, Ron? Justin? They're gonna jump at you.
Fully accredited RPS booms as families flock to enroll students in innovative programs. The investment's paid off.
Department of Ed says all RPS schools accredited.
So I have to do the headline in a little bit of this earlier. So first human to colonize Mars, thanks RPS. My dreams to reach beyond the stars started with RPS. If it were not for the robust curriculum, the fabulous teachers, I would not be where I am.
We're colonizing Mars. All right, let's go.
Richmond Public Schools successfully beats the odds, receives national awards for perfect attendance, students and faculty, improves student achievement, and positive referrals.
Mine was Richmond students prove they can do.
Any members of the public like to share?
Every student from K through 12 is given a community card that provides access to feeding the mind, soul, and body. And that would be a library card, of course, and a museum card, and a place where they can get food.
I like that.
And a bus pass.
We can connect it to the GRTC passes that they're doing.
Mine will be quick. It's the will of the people has been fulfilled.
RPS loves children to success in the classroom and the community.
Mine was RPS, a cutting-edge educational experience.
Okay, so we're going to turn to the third question. So as you think about all of your bullets and all the various initiatives that we could do to achieve those headlines, I'm going to force you into an artificial situation here. I'm going to ask you to pick three things. If we did three things excellently over the next 5 years in service of your headline, what would those three things be? Now, you can't say accredit all the schools, because that's the headline. So I'm talking about, something at, one level down. What initiative, what priority that we would focus our attention around to help us get closer to our dream. And the reason we're going through this artificial experience of picking three is because if our strategic plan lists 1,000 things, it's a list, it's not a plan. And so we're going to have to make choices. We're going to have to prioritize. We're going to have to say what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. And that's even if we had all the money in the world, because people only have so much time in the day and so much headspace, and teachers can only absorb so much change at any given point, and kids, and so on and so forth. So, what are the three levers that you feel are most important for us to get towards that vision that you have captured in your headline? I want to be clear, I'm not saying we're only doing three things. We're just forcing some prioritization for the conversation. Yeah, I think we might do the lightning round. Ms. Bergson, are you going to tell Mr. Young?
She did not say that.
She sure did.
No, I believe that.
Okay, let's start with the public. Chad, are you taking over?
I guess so.
All right. What are your three big levers that you would prioritize over the next 5 years to achieve those dreams, those headlines?
Three big things I have are funding, quality staff, and facilities.
Thank you.
So I would reduce exclusive discipline and create positive behavior interventions. I would create inclusive, safe environments for children which honor and celebrate cultural diversity of students and retain and recruit highly qualified teachers.
Thank you.
Now I want to address the curriculum. And I think that if we get more diversified and racist, I would have some type of conversation so that we can have that bridge so that it's not just talking at each other, but we're talking with each other.
Thank you.
My first one would be a plan of action. My second one would be, what Mr. Bradley says, streamlining diversity in our schools. And the third one I would say is teachers' professional development.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? All right. So we're going to try to do the lightning round here. We'll start down here, but so that this doesn't take 30 minutes, just list out your three things as succinctly as you possibly can, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
I will be succinct and list just one. I picked funding, so I think that we could look at this experience right here, these quarterly meetings. How could we structure these meetings to better accomplish our goal in getting things funded? Is there certain information that we could periodically review in terms of where we're at with our budget to ensure that everyone is clear of what the lay of the land is? I know that there was a point when we do a presentation of our budget to City Council. Perhaps we could align this meeting with that. I think if we look very specifically at these quarterly meetings and determine what is it that we specifically want to accomplish in one, that could help us to streamline things moving forward.
My headline was related to increasing enrollment, and so I have two bullets under it. One is to proactively reach out to communities to promote schools in the neighborhood and connect with the community and prospective students. And the second is to work with companies looking to relocate to Richmond and introduce them to RPS as part of the economic development strategy.
So the 3 points that I have to support my headline, that RPS has surpassed its expectations. I have fully funded to support student achievement and educational experiences, teacher pay to maintain the best and the brightest, and maintain and modernize all school buildings.
All right, 3 words. First, entrepreneurial, reward risk takers who break rules and are willing to fail. Autonomy for teachers, de-emphasize lesson plans. And 3, experiential education, flip the classroom where students are on their feet doing more talking than the teacher.
For me, it would be robust curriculum, sustainable funding streams, and supported staff.
Funding was also my top one. I think many of us agree on it. Attracting and retaining great teachers. I'm really concerned about looming teacher shortages and competing with other localities, and then focusing as many resources as we can to the students and schools with the greatest need.
I wrote down talent recruitment, teachers and principals, diverse classrooms due to increased enrollment, and supportive city partners, city council, mayor.
Thank you. So in my headline, it was students prove they can do, and I've prioritized 1, classroom decorum is conducive to learning. 2, schools where kids choose to be. And 3, inclusion and compassion identifies opportunities for each and every student.
All right, mine to support beating all the odds. Year-round schools to include neighborhood agencies to provide services such as mental health, basic needs such as food, and an international curriculum.
Thank you. Is there anything else that any of our electeds would like to share as they think about the future of RPS over the next 5 years? I'll just open it up, Ron.
I'll just say, I think there's a second, and I don't speak for anybody else, but and a third for year-round. There's a second and a third every year for year-round schools.
Got it. So let me tell you what, there's a 4th and a 5th. All right. Everybody's going to school all the time. I appreciate everybody sharing their dreams and what they would prioritize. I think, as you can see, even amongst our elected officials, we had different lists for our 3 things. Some obviously the same, funding and facilities and things of that nature. But how we achieve those headlines is a matter of discussion and debate, and that's why we are doing these experiences, these visiting sessions all across the city to hear what are some of the things that are surfacing across the community, across our schools, as the most important levers that we focus on. So what happens next, we're going to continue these sessions through the middle of June. Then we will share out the big themes that we have heard from all of these sessions. By the way, we can't get it to work here, but again, if you go to the website, rvaschools.net, there's a button right there you click. It takes you to an electronic version of this that you can add your own thoughts. We are encouraging all members of the public to do this. You can do it individually. There's also an opportunity on the website. One of the first buttons says, I'm sharing my own thoughts, or I'm reporting out for a group. So you can do this with your family, with your church or synagogue or mosque. You can do this with your civic association. If you are a small business leader, a large business leader, do it with your management team. Our goal is to get as much input as we possibly can from across the city. And then we will take all of that information, all of it will be public, and then we'll summarize what are some of the key themes that we will then use to drive the eventual distillation to a set of priorities and an actual plan for the next 5 years. Yes, ma'am? My 3. Whew. I'll tell you what my 3 are right now, but they're evolving as I do these sessions. Because I certainly have my own thoughts, but I am opening myself to this process, so I want to make sure that I'm reflecting what I hear from the community. Number 1, great, loving school culture, where every kid feels safe, loved, affirmed, celebrated for who they are. I don't want any parent to say, I don't want to send my child to this school because I'm worried about their safety. I'm worried that they won't be cared for in the way that I want them cared for. Number 2 is the kind of instruction that kids run to classrooms for. I don't want to hear that kids are bored. I don't want to hear that kids aren't prepared for the future. I don't want to hear that we're doing things the way they were done 50, 100 years ago. We have an opportunity to create the kind of instruction that makes kids run down the hallway and get into those classrooms. And that is what I want us to achieve. And then third, I would say is and this I think goes to Ms. Gibson's point, particularly here in Richmond, I would like us to think about how do we pull all the levers that we can to have a more integrated school system that reflects the entire city and that leverages the diversity of our families, of our children, of our society, because I think that's actually a pathway to creating the kind of city that we ultimately want to see. There is a video on the website you can see, and other, oh, by the way, I said the list of all the sessions. So again, we encourage as many people as possible to participate in this process. This plan has to be our plan, not my plan or the school board's plan, or I want this to feel shared by the entire city because I believe our destiny is wrapped up in the extent to which we all take collective responsibility for all of our children in Richmond. So thank you to everyone for participating. I want you to know we have been taking notes. They're going up in the website right now in the report out on a group option. So if you would like to share your sheets with me, we can add that information to the website. If you would prefer to keep them to yourselves, that's fine as well. But everything that was shared publicly is being captured and is going up on the website as well. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we are now at the funding strategies, whole child, and RPS priorities part of our meeting. But before I begin down that road, I want to thank Superintendent Cameras for taking us through that visioning process, and we have a lot more to go to get under your belt. So good luck getting out there. This portion of our meeting, we want to encourage some frank. For some, it will be difficult conversations. Things are a little lopsided a little bit. I got 3 school board members at my table. There's only 1 over here for you, but you do have the superintendent partner. So, but we want to have some conversations about funding at RPS. I think we all know our challenge. I'm going to throw up a challenge slide here real quick. Here's the challenge. You see the different buckets of money: sales tax, state, and the city of Richmond. This is a 5-year view from FY 2015. You see the city of Richmond provided $134.8 million to Richmond Public Schools. And in 2019, we are at $169.9 million for Richmond Public Schools. So you see one color going up, and you see another color just a little bit smaller than what it used to be, or maybe the same size over the years. This is per pupil funding as reported on by the Commonwealth Institute, September 2017. Per pupil funding since 2009. We've seen that the Commonwealth of Virginia has provided 16% less per pupil to Richmond Public Schools since 2009. And quote, right from the report, Richmond has taken on a larger share of funding over the decade. And I think maybe that story, or maybe it was in that report, or maybe the bellwether, that compared to our peers, cities like Norfolk and others, that we have taken on an amazing amount more. This is the picture today, compared to 2009. The city of Richmond has provided roughly $40 million more for public education, compared to the Commonwealth of Virginia providing $5 million less than it did in 2009. Since 2009, Richmond City has provided a greater share of public funding as the state funding has declined. And this is from the RPS budget analysis in the fall of 2016. Next slide. All right, so at our tables, and then, Kim, will we report out to the public after we have 15 to 20 minutes at on each topic? All right, so this is what we're going to do. At each table, we're going to have 15 minutes to talk about deal breakers and non-negotiables. These are deal breakers and must-haves regarding school system funding at each table. We'll do that for 15 minutes. Then we'll talk about local funding opportunities and barriers. We'll report back out to the public. We'll do another 10 minutes talking about state funding opportunities and barriers at our tables. Then we'll do another 10 minutes at our tables on philanthropic funding opportunities and barriers, and we'll report back out. 5 minutes, one person from each table will provide quick recaps of what we will discuss at our tables. Do you want us to just do one by one, or just all wrap it up at the end?
In the interest of time and the members that are here, I've got sort of reformatted so we can do it all at the end.
All right, so we'll have Osita, Eva, Thad, and Kim will be at the tables, and we'll start. Who's watching the time? All right, here we go.
I'll start my That's the one thing.
Oh, so we're talking about all of these at once?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about, okay. You're doing deal breakers, 8 minutes.
100
We'll start with deal breakers. The question would be, try to what are things that now? Okay, I'm in charge of reporting out from the quote-unquote fund table. So with respect to deal breakers and must-haves, it was articulated by the school board members, a must-have of full funding as defined by the strategic plan that will be being developed now. And then there was, I think, consensus at the table that everything potentially should be on the table. Getting to local funding, there was discussion of admission taxes and possibly looking at some kind of compensation for the various state buildings that aren't taxable in the city. Discussion of making common cause with other cities who have similar needs and challenges with really to funding to build, skipping out to the state level, to build as strong coalition as possible in support of General Assembly needs, and getting together with budget experts to identify 5 or 6 specific asks that could be the basis for that strategy. Also discussion of making sure that the school's needs are defined as the top of the city council agenda or the legislative agenda with respect to General Assembly going into next year. In terms of philanthropy, concerned to be sure that philanthropy should not be asked to be providing the core services that RPS needs, but really can help with some of the supportive services and the wraparound support services. And I should say that we also talked about getting ahead of potential new revenue sources that may be coming on at the state level. Cannabis came up, other things have come up, to make sure there's a conversation about dedicating that to education specifically. So that's the summary, and I know we'll get done as soon as possible. Anyone else? All right.
Superintendent Cameras just named the cannabis campaign "Weed for Walls." So it's getting late, everybody. So for the sake of time, and because we had Justin at our table, we're sure a lot will be covered in tomorrow's RTD. We're just going to highlight one big takeaway that we had in terms of our conversation, and that was coming back to using these quarterly meetings as an opportunity to develop a cohesive legislative strategy for our General Assembly delegation, thinking through what our asks are as a community and how we are going to actually build out the strategy to advocate effectively for what we see as opportunities and barriers to our success locally that are housed at the state. So when we think about what we can tax, how we can tax, and many, many other things, including how much they fund, et cetera, thinking through how we use this quarterly convening as an opportunity to build out a strategy.
I'll just do from here with apologies in advance to the group. I may miss a few because there was a lot of interesting discussion here. On the deal breaker front, some of the deal breakers were cuts to core city services, an agreement that doesn't achieve efficiencies on both the city and school side, uses of one-time funding for recurring costs, those were deal breakers. But must-haves, there was consensus that everyone wants to grow city revenue, and that there is a willingness for per pupil funding to be high as long as there is a commensurate return on investment. And so a need to determine what that return on investment might look like was seen as an opportunity. On the local funding issue, well, that was the start of the local funding discussion. A barrier was noted as the city continually adding to its investment without other, i.e. state and federal investment rising commensurately. An opportunity was the possible support for enhanced revenue from City Council. An opportunity was the new strategic plan as a roadmap that would actually ensure accountability over a defined time frame commensurate with an investment. In other words, that strategic plan could then be used as an opportunity for funding to align with it, and then to see at the same time the results from that influx of investment. The opportunity was also noted to be a solution where you can count on a set level of city funding as something to explore. And then at the state level, the barriers were noted to be the appetite for increased funding, although there was one member who believes that there is an appetite for increased state funding if there is truly innovative school system reform promised. And then the other opportunities were Medicaid expansion now is going to allow kids to be better prepared in the classroom, and also possibly some additional budget flexibility going forward. There's a big opportunity for the at-risk funding on the state level to actually match the high poverty needs of school systems like RPS and others. And there's an opportunity if the General Assembly would actually fully fund the report that its own Board of Education issued in 2016 regarding school system needs to get to an adequate level of state funding. And an opportunity in the funding community for certain initiatives, and so a need to determine what some of the philanthropic areas of interest are to match to those, and the possibility of actually directing specific school system pilots to those philanthropic interests as pilot innovation projects. I think that was at least most of the ideas.
Let's give a round of applause to our facilitators this evening. I want to thank everyone for the productive conversations we had at some of the tables, and some of them were, some people were not moving their positions. That's okay. That's okay, Jonathan, that's okay. We can continue to talk, but I really, really appreciate everyone taking the time, just a couple hours out of their day to, number one, do our jobs, number two, to actually have some conversation about funding and also about the future of RPS and how that will look for the city of Richmond. One thing I want all of us who have certificates of election to leave here tonight and think about. Tonight we talked about deal breakers, non-negotiables, must-haves, and opportunities and barriers as well. To me, this, in order for us to get what we want out of our school system and also out of our city, it's going to take us reaching some sort of grand compromise amongst all bodies. And first, it takes everybody being here as well. I want to thank Parker Agelesto and Kristen Larson, our city council people, being here to have this discussion. It's going to take us, it's a grand bargain. And you hear members of the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives talk about it, but nothing ever happens. And I think at the local level is where this sort of innovative thinking and commitment is actually being met. Richmond has to now meet that commitment. How that commitment looks is what we get to actually illustrate and create. And so this will be the first of many more conversations, and hopefully we can find a resolution. I'm very, very optimistic, and I hope you are as well. Thank you all. Have a good night. Be safe.